Bitcoin is literally on its last chance right now, and if it's not able to pull something very impressive out of the bag now, we could be looking at a very, very big drop to the downside. And at the same time, there are already massive opportunities opening up in the altcoin space. Take a look at Ethereum here with a speculative target of $900 with this price target right here. You guys know the deal. Some of you guys actually think that I've got a bunch of fucking USDT parked on the sidelines ready to enter the space. I fucking wish, bro. I fucking wish I had money on the side that I could put into Bitcoin, but I've been all in on this market since 2018 and I wouldn't have it any other way. But the point still stands. We are in some super bearish, dangerous positions right now, and I want to break this down for you, but also look at the other side of it. I've spent a lot of time over these last few days, obviously being 100% correct, talking about how the market could be pulling back, and that's exactly what we've seen, and we're going to continue to build on that. But I want to also show you the other side of it, because if we don't do this, and if we do a couple of the other things I'm going to show you today, we could be looking at price targets like $46,000 over these next few days. So let's get into it. This is super exciting stuff. If you are excited, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And one of the first key things to look at within this YouTube video as we're getting started right here is that Bitcoin spent a lot of time trading up in these highs at about $44,000, and since then we've slowly been trending down. And what's actually really interesting is that we had this bullish symmetrical triangle, right, that typically 66% of the time you do see a breakout to the upside. We've now actually seen a breakout to the downside here with a subsequent back test. Now this is like the most fucking critical time for the market right now. I mean, if you're watching this video, you might already have the answer to what's going to happen here, but if this does turn into a rejection, then you can just kiss this thing goodbye. I mean, that is the worst possible thing that could happen right now, and it's also a level that makes sense for a rejection, because if we look at this on a smaller time frame, this is definitely where we've already seen some reversals, right? I mean, this is where we started to see some initial support and resistance when we got up into the range. We've seen some nice reversal price action taking place at this price level as well. So, it kind of just makes sense that this could be turning into resistance, especially now that we've got that confluence building with that symmetrical triangle resistance line now, and of course this horizontal block. So that is also very interesting. But what's very important to keep in mind is that this is now putting Bitcoin down at its last area, its final frontier of support, before it actually potentially collapses much lower. And here's another look at what that might actually look like here. The next area of support for Bitcoin is going to be on my chart about $38,000. And again, this is a price area that we're very familiar with, 37.5, whatever you want to call it. You could definitely also draw a box right, at these kind of highs, and that would be that kind of $38,000 range. That would be the next key area for Bitcoin to fall down to if it does end up getting rejected here. And we've spent a lot of time in this range as well. So, I think that's definitely something that is starting to make a little bit more sense. There's also this chart I wanted to show you guys where, we had this symmetrical triangle previously, but we've now actually potentially started to form more of a bearish descending triangle here, right? So let me actually show you how that's progressing here. Basically, we just remove this line and extend this one further, and what you can see is that we are now kind of conforming to the same diagonal resistance line, but our floor stays the same. So this is now turning into a descending triangle, and these are actually quite bearish for Bitcoin, and it's a very typical chart pattern for Bitcoin to produce. We've seen majorly notorious events of this pattern playing out in Bitcoin's past. I want to show you two of them right here as well, just to jog your memory. Very curious how many of you guys were watching this YouTube channel back when these were being produced in the market, because this is something we were talking about. Take a look at this. Very similar situation. We print this at a market top, and then bam, we're all the way down. Actually, a super similar market dynamic, because we set that all-time high, we trended down massively, and then we had a massive rally up, and that's where we formed the descending triangle that took us much lower. So we've definitely got some of that already forming again. I mean, people say that this is only, a pattern that forms at reversal points or as continuations. I don't know where these people, draw these conclusions from. I really don't understand it. It's not hard to see at all that this can happen at any phase of the market, whether you're in a, confirmed downtrend or you're just at a reversal point or whatever the case may be. It's actually very common for Bitcoin to form this kind of pattern. Here is the same pattern at $6,000. So, each time massive drops, 50% down over here, just down to this low here, it was 21%, down to the absolute low, it was 58%. So Really, really bad things tend to happen when this pattern is formed at macro tops, and we are right now forming it again on a much smaller time frame. So I'm not necessarily expecting Bitcoin to halve in value, although that would be very interesting if it happened. Instead, I think that we could definitely be looking at if I get a 7% drop is going to put us down to 37.5. It's so plausible that this could actually happen. And again, we start talking about what this could look like for the altcoin market, and this is where things get really interesting. Bitcoin has also been picking up a little bit of its dominance lately, which I think is very interesting. We're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff later on in this YouTube video as well. But very, very interesting kind of setup beginning to form here in this market, where we have turned something that was previously a little bit more neutral with the symmetrical triangle into something that's now a little bit more bearish. And again, that speculative target, if we do look at it from just kind of measuring the height of the descending triangle down, does put us back in that same range of 38k. So a lot of signs are pointing to that key price level right now. Let's talk about some of our supports. So on the daily time frame, we've got this beautiful EMA ribbon support right here that stretches all the way down to, you guessed it, $38,000 yet again, and our Ichimoku cloud on the daily level now also moving up to that level. If we look at the VPVR, we're getting some more support around these similar kind of price areas, which is absolutely fantastic. 35k and 26k are actually some of the key areas for these VPVR spikes. Obviously, there's another one over here at about 38,000 as well. A lot of confluence around some of these key price areas right now, ladies and gents. If we take a look at them again, just to refresh your memories here, because I think these are very, very relevant price levels right now. The problem is that it's also it's quite hazy. It's not particularly easy to see where these levels actually are in the market. But, here I've got, for example, 35k flat, 38k, outlined with two different lines right here. Honestly, a lot of it is down to your own personal interpretation of it. But these are some of the key levels that I'm watching, and of course, these are where some of the key reversals have taken place throughout 2021 and 2022, and that's why I think that they're actually so important in this market as well. So definitely something which I am keeping an eye out for. I also want to bring something to your radar to keep an eye out for. You guys know that I'm working with some brilliant exchanges here in this space where you can get over 196k in bonuses. But what you might not know, because I actually haven't told you guys about this yet, is that CoinW for about a week or two now, 2 weeks now, has been running a massive 6-year anniversary celebration with a prize pool of $100,000. And there's a couple different really interesting things running with this anniversary celebration thing. Take a look at this right here. They've got an event where you can get up to 150 USDT bonus for every new user. And by the way, these other events I'm going to tell you about apply to you if you already have a CoinW account as well. You guys know the deal that one of the cool things about CoinW with the partnership I've secured with them is that when you sign up and start trading, when you sign up on CoinW without even trading, you get $50 for free to trade with, which is really cool because it means that you don't have to do anything. There's no KYC to do. There's no deposit to make. Absolutely fucking nothing. You just get free money to trade with. And if you make any profits with it, you can withdraw those profits, which is super, super cool. That's going to be with you within about 24 hours of signing up, which is super cool. And what I'm talking to you about today is all in addition to that. They're doing some loss coverages as well with some interesting campaigns and of course another price pool here of about 40k. So there's a lot going on here. There's actually a lot of detail that I'm not going to go into on this YouTube video, but definitely check it out. CoinW has been around for now 6 years. A lot of people don't even know this, but they have been around for a while, so they are well worth checking out, especially with these really cool bonuses. And of course, with all of this volatility, to get that kind of free money to trade with and some losses being covered as well, they're basically putting it in a position where you don't have much to lose. You experiment with a new exchange, and the worst thing that happens is you have an alternative exchange if your main one goes down, like Binance, for example, proving that you're never too big to fail. You guys know the deal that I absolutely love exchanges like Bybit. It's not going to stop me from having backups. I've been saying that for a very, very long time. I have a lot of loyalty to Bybit. I love them to bits, and I'm still not going to just put all of my eggs in one basket. And I think these are amazing alternatives, especially if you don't like the KYC on Bybit, because these guys don't require it. Again, as usual, please be aware of the laws in your relevant countries, because if you can't use these platforms, then you won't be able to sign up and start trading and stuff like that. Now, if we do continue on and talk a little bit more about why Bitcoin might actually have an interesting shot at something a little bit more bullish, it is to do with this falling wedge pattern, this descending channel pattern. Now, Bitcoin has actually been forming a kind of nice controlled drop down, which we can actually paint with a parallel channel. And honestly, it's not perfect. It's not the best, most profiled pattern in the world at all. But if we do continue to follow through with this, then what we could actually be looking at is something with a slower kind of grind down toward the end of this month. And one of the reasons that this is actually quite interesting is that Ichimoku cloud that we were looking at previously, right? I mean, if this really does end up kind of taking its time, and I don't know how realistic this is, by the way. I don't necessarily think that this is going to happen. But if something allows the market to trend down here slowly so that we get there, right at the very, very beginning of 2024, well, then, we're going to have a lot of support meeting Bitcoin right here. And I think that could be very, very interesting with the daily Ichimoku cloud. So that is definitely something which is interesting because, I mean, at the moment, we talk about the fact that Bitcoin is definitely due for a correction. And I still believe that to be the case, but it's not really coming. And if Bitcoin is able to perform quite well off this support area, at about $40,000, $41,000. If we're able to get a nice big bounce up here, then there's not much to worry about, right? I mean, I think especially, for example, if Bitcoin can clear this orange box, which sits between 41.4 and 41.7, if we're able to clear this orange box, then, that's a big step forward for Bitcoin. There's not actually that much resistance that's kind of short term before Bitcoin gets up to this yellow line. And this is where we're kind of back in business. The more we knock on this line, the more likely we are to break it, the way I see things. So, that could definitely put the market in a very interesting position as well. So, if we do end up pulling something like that off, I would want to, let's bring on the long-term chart. I would want to, see some of these higher price levels, like, 46K being hit. This is the reason I was calling for 46K. It's just one of these easy reversal zones. It's right above where Bitcoin topped out previously. So, to me, it's just a level that makes sense. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to hit it at all by any means whatsoever, but to me, like I said, it is just one of those levels that makes sense to me, where we could be looking at some potential reversal price action here as well. So that is something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on in this market. So far, if we do look at this on a shorter term perspective, there's still support here. So, this is not the time to lose all faith in Bitcoin. For me, I like to look at things like sentiment. You guys know the deal. If we take a look at the wonderful Four Flies dashboard here, we have finally started to pull back with sentiment right now, which is the first time in a long time we've seen something like that. And longs, on the other hand, have continued to build up on Binance for Binance retail traders, and Bybit remains ever so slightly majority short. So, clearly things are starting to change a little bit, in both directions, which is definitely interesting. But, for me, this is kind of, the key number to be watching. If I keep on seeing that the scrubs, the people that tend to lose money for a career choice, are all kind of piling in on one direction, or if they're getting even more, feeling even more confident in that one particular direction as time goes on, then, for me, that's just going to be where I'm going to, at the very least, consider distancing myself from that kind of thing. So that's something I am definitely keeping in mind. Those of you that want to watch me trading in real time can do that by following these steps on screen right here. And right here is where you can just go ahead and pause the video, and you can follow these steps on screen to message me directly and then get yourself inside, which is super, super cool. So, like I said, that is something which is going for Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame. If we look at this with the momentum indicators, we don't have any momentum here. In fact, if anything, it's about to turn bearish for Bitcoin. So please do keep that in mind. That is definitely an important factor, I think, at this stage in the market, because again, especially considering that we're starting to see some of these reversals come in, and especially if we lose this orange box, again, you're going to know by the time you've watched this video, most likely, if this does turn into a kind of rejection, then I don't know how confident I would be that this floor is going to hold. And I would have to expect that if it collapses, there's going to be a nice, kind of $4,000 or $5,000 drop until Bitcoin, maybe $3,000 drop until Bitcoin starts to find support again. So, that would definitely be quite juicy for some trading opportunities. And if we do continue to talk about these trading opportunities, here's something that's interesting on Ethereum. So Ethereum's got this really nice area of support sitting at about $2,100, and it's mostly untested. We had this wick over here where Ethereum actually pumped up really nicely. This support goes back way back, by the way. I mean, this is not a recent area by any means. We've now started to bounce off it a little bit, but if we break it, it's going to be a pretty steep drop down for Ethereum as well. It's a very, very similar situation to Bitcoin right now. In fact, it's even worse because of this chart that I've shown you right here. I was actually sitting with one of my good friends. Shout out to you. You know who you are if you are watching this video. And I was showing this chart to him, and he actually started to get, quite understandably quite worried about this chart, and so am I, to be honest. I mean, I don't really hold any Ethereum, but I want to, and on one side I'm quite excited for Ethereum to drop and get weaker against Bitcoin, but on the other side, fuck me, this is a massive pattern, and it's already played out once on Ethereum within the same macro trend that Ethereum is in right now. A nice big rise up, a disgusting clear rising wedge followed by a massive drop down. Again, a disgusting clear rising wedge, potentially followed by another massive drop down. And again, if we look at these kind of targets, that was a 64% span right here from high to low, and it's absolutely beautiful. If you measure this from the breakout point, we are roughly, and roughly is the key word, seeing a similar drop, a similar speculative target right there. It's not really very speculative at all, because it's exactly what happened. But if we kind of do the same thing again now, that would potentially put us at about 50%. And it lines up with the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It lines up with a historic pattern that we've already formed, that we're forming again. It's not a good chart, really. And that's not necessarily the end of the world. I mean, for me, and this is a chart that I've been looking at a long time, I like I said, I want to buy Ethereum. I mean, one of the key things that VIP members have seen me trading inside of the VIP group over the years to really make a lot of money is actually moving my money between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the reason for that is, as you know, my main objective is to make more Bitcoin, right? I expect Bitcoin to continue to rally up overall, generally speaking, year over year. So as long as I'm making Bitcoin, I'm in a good position, right? Like, I'm going to make Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin's going to make me money. That's my approach. That's what I like to do. I'm going to make Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin's going to make me money. Really, really nice approach for me. And so one of the things I like to do is buy Ethereum when it's quite low against Bitcoin, and then sell it when it's high against Bitcoin. Obviously, a lot of other people actually like to buy high and then sell low, but if you're like me and you like to make money, you're going to do things a little bit closer to properly. And, so for me, if we take a look at this Ethereum chart right here, where I think things start to get very interesting, is that this has, returned down to an absolute low. It's already broken a very long-term area of support, and this time it just looks way weaker than it did the first time when it fell down to this area. I mean, the first time it fell down to this area, we got a bounce fairly quickly, didn't quite hold very well, but then we did end up moving back anyway. This time, I mean, we can just kind of measure how long we've spent down here. If we take a look at this right here, that was 35 days. And if we take a look at what we're doing right now, we are already up to 60 days. So, and let me just make sure I measured that correctly. Yeah, 35 days compared to a massive 60-day time period here. So, we're spending more time down here. We're not producing a bounce. By all accounts, this is, quite typical price action before a big drop is about to come in the market. So this Ethereum Bitcoin chart, really not giving me any reason to be confident about Ethereum at the moment, against Bitcoin at least. And the next price targets for this are just so fucking low. They're not really even worth talking about. But really, really low price targets for altcoins right here. Ethereum's a good example because of just the fact that it represents the rest of the altcoin market to an extent. If we look at total 2, one thing which is extremely clear is that this is the market cap of all of crypto excluding Bitcoin. Basically, we could say the price of all crypto merged together, excluding Bitcoin. That's not what it is. The technical definition is quite different. But if you don't know what it is and you don't want to learn, then that definition is functional for the analogy for the examples I'm about to show you. This is a macro area of resistance, and obviously Bitcoin's equivalent area, you've probably already guessed it, would be $30,000. So Bitcoin's already passed it. The altcoin market has not. So that is a very, very clear sign that there is still macro resistance here, and a little drop like that, it just makes so much sense. And a lot of the other charts that kind of feed into the same thing are confirming that for us already. On the daily chart, if we really zoom out and we take a look at what's been going on, of course we're going to be expecting some pullbacks on the way up, but this is a macro area of resistance, and we've already broken out, and we're already kind of getting ready to test it again. So I think that this is a really important level for Bitcoin's, kind of dominance. I think that, what we're seeing here actually makes a lot of sense. I think it makes sense for Ethereum. I think it makes sense for Bitcoin. And I think it makes sense for altcoins in general. I think that altcoins in general are actually starting to find themselves in a very, very dangerous place. So, again, this is all absolutely great for those of us that want to trade these markets. And like I said, CoinW and BingX are brilliant no KYC alternatives to Bybit as well. And what is, of course, very, very cool is the fact that CoinW, in order to celebrate its 6th year anniversary, is running some massive campaigns and some massive events for you all to take advantage to, whether or not you've already signed up to the platform. So if you haven't, now it's definitely a chance to get in on it. And of course, these are all in addition to the current campaign that has been running, where all you've got to do to get $50 for free to trade with is just open a futures account using my link down below. So super cool stuff. If you have enjoyed this video, you know exactly what to do. Smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. There was another chart for Solana that I wanted to show you, but I'm going to save that for the next video. So make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.